Welcome, everybody. We're looking live right now at the Memphis Cook Convention Center in Memphis, Tennessee, where there will be two weigh-ins today for the heavyweight champion of the world, Lennox Lewis, and the contender in this fight, former heavyweight champion, Iron Mike Tyson. Hi, everybody. Brian Kenny, Al Bernstein, and Max Kellerman, all here with you. We're just across the street from the convention center, and later today at 3 local time, 3 central time, Mike Tyson will weigh in. Two men so combustible, they cannot be in the same room at the same time. We've been doing that theme. However, today is important in that we can get an indication of the level of fitness of these men. Heavyweights, Max, they can weigh whatever they want, but we're going to get a good idea of how their preparation went today.
Yeah, and you'd be shocked if Lennox was especially heavy. Look, Lennox Lewis, with a heavyweight who doesn't have to make a certain weight, a guy who always trains hard and shows up in shape for big, important fights. Whatever Lennox Lewis weighs, that's the weight he should have come in at. That means he's prepared himself. He's not trying to hit a target weight. Whatever he weighs is what he weighs.
Yeah, the only thing about that, though, is we did see him against Hasim Rahman over 250. And in my mind, the one magic number you want to look at with Lennox Lewis is under 250 or over 250. If he's over 250, it's not so good for him.
Let's go to the weigh-in right now. The Cook Convention Center just across the street from the Pyramid here in Memphis. Here is Jimmy Lennon Jr. Jimmy?
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you, and we welcome you to the first half of the official weigh-in for this historic heavyweight championship showdown, which will take place Saturday evening at the Pyramid. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to introduce to you the mayor of Memphis. Please welcome the Honorable Willie Harrington.
Thank you, Jimmy. I would like to thank and welcome all of you to the great city of Memphis. We are obviously very excited about Saturday's World Heavyweight Championship fight, and I would like to express my gratitude to all of you for your support. There is no doubt that this will be one of the greatest boxing events of all time. And helping to make this a historic event is Lennox Lewis. It is indeed an honor and my pleasure to ask the champ to step up to the scale, the WBC, IBF, and IBO heavyweight champion of the world, Lennox Lewis.
What's the weight? Hang on.
249 and 1/4 pounds for Lennox Lewis, 249 and 1/4.
All right, 249 and 1/4 pounds. Al, what do you make of that?
Well, you know, I think at 249 and 1/4, it's splitting the difference between the two weights he had against Hasim Rahman. He was up to 253 in the first one, down to in the 246 in the second. And as you see, this kind of in between. So not bad for him, certainly not in the high range, so I think that's okay.
Hey, this is an indication of fitness. Lennox Lewis hasn't been less than 240 since 1994, between 241 and 253. Max?
Guys, bottom line is, look at him. Did he look in shape? Did he look fit? Yes, the guy's obviously in shape. He's 249 until instead of 248. He may have had a bottle of water in the dressing room. He doesn't have to make weight. So you look at the guy, you can tell. Remember that old clip of Ali with Frazier, with Foreman, before the Foreman said, the press knows when fighters are in shape, and he stands up and shows you what he looks like. Look at the guy. Of course he's in shape.
Yeah, there have been two phases as far as weight is concerned for Lennox Lewis's career.
Yes.
Again, between 1989 and 1994, he was in the 220s, between 221 and 238 pounds. He was a slimmer when he fought Razor Ruddock. Then he looked great, but he was a lean Lennox Lewis. This is a bigger Lennox Lewis, but this is not like we were talking about the heavyweights of the 80s, guys out of shape. This guy's in top shape.
Yeah, and Lennox Lewis, you know, has gotten older. And clearly, when you're in your mid-30s, you are not going to be at the same weight you were when you're in your mid-20s or even late 20s. And he's carried the weight well. And he's also not a guy that's fluctuated. He doesn't walk around at 270 or 280 or whatever and then have to get down. If anybody, his weight fluctuates a lot, it is Mike Tyson.
Yeah, you know, you think about were Lennox to weigh too little. If he were to come in at 240 or something like that, you worry about overtraining. And Manny Stewart has a lot of experience with that with Tommy Hearns before the first Sugar Ray Leonard fight. Hearns weighed in, what, Al? Something like 145 pounds when the limit was 147, was overtrained and did not have it in the late rounds. At heavyweight, you don't have to worry about making weight. The best idea is exactly what happened. Train hard, train right, whatever you weigh, that's what you weigh.
Yeah, you see, in other weight classes, if you just follow heavyweight boxing, in other weight classes, you have to make weight. Here, you can weigh whatever you want, but Lennox Lewis appears to be in top shape. Let's go across the street, back with the heavyweight champion of the world and our own Jeremy Schaap.
Brian, Lennox Lewis weighs in at 249 1/4. Lennox, you weigh a few pounds more than when you last fought against Hasim Rahman, but 4 pounds fewer than what you weighed when you lost to Hasim Rahman. How would you assess your physical fitness?
Great. You know, I've worked hard, and this is the way I've come in at it, so I'm very comfortable about it. Feel good, just ready to go.
Your opponent, Mike Tyson, is probably going to end up weighing about 15 or 20 pounds less than you for this fight. Plus, you're about 8 inches taller. How do you use that height, weight, and reach advantage to your benefit in this fight?
This is exactly what I need to do, is to use my reach, my weight, and everything into my advantage. You know, just go in there and just do what comes naturally in box.
He's going to try to get inside. How do you keep him on the outside?
Well, it starts off with a jab. Then if he gets past the jab, he's going to run into a right hand. If he gets past that, run into an uppercut or a hook.
One thing we really haven't had a chance to talk about this week so far is the whole idea of Mike Tyson perhaps fouling you. Obviously, he has a history of bad behavior in the ring. How often have you thought about that possibility?
You know, I don't really think about that. My main focus is just to go in there and do what I do best. You know, I'm a boxer puncher, and I've got an arsenal filled with punches I can throw at any given moment, and this is what I aim to do.
But if he tries to break your arm as he did against Franz Both, or he bites you or something like that, how do you think you'll respond?
Well, you know, I'm no punk in the ring, so I'll definitely respond the same way. You know, hopefully we have a good ref in there that'll keep everything in hand.
You've got about 48 hours before this fight. Now, what do you do for the next 2 days with your idle time?
Well, just think about the fight, stay focused, relaxed, and, you know, watch some tape, watch a couple movies, and just focus on the fight.
What kind of exercise?
The most I'll do is just some stretching, maybe a bit of shadow boxing, stuff like that.
You've often said Mike Tyson has never seen a fighter the likes of Lennox Lewis before. Have you ever seen a fighter quite like Mike Tyson before?
Yeah, all the time. You know, I've always boxed shorter opponents that are always trying to get in, that are trying to get to my body, trying to get in closer where they have the advantage. But, you know, I've dealt with them. Evander Holyfield, a great technical boxer, wasn't able to get inside either. So, you know, I don't see where Mike Tyson's going to be able to get inside.
But in terms of his power, is he comparable to anyone else?
You know, Mercer's got good power. There's other boxers that have great power out there. You know, Tyson's known for his power, but, you know, this is something that everybody knows. And, you know, if I leave myself available for him to hit me, he'll definitely take advantage of it. And that's what I'm not going to do.
People know you as a supremely confident athlete. Are you supremely confident right now?
Very confident. I'm confident in my own ability and what I need to go in there and do.
Lennox, thanks very much. Good luck in the next coming few days.
Thank you.
Back to you, Brian.
Jeremy, champ, thank you so much. Tail of the tape. This is a much bigger man. Again, Mike Tyson will be weighing in at 3 Central Time. But take a look, 6'5", the reach at 84 inches. That's wingspan. And you see, mainly it's the height. And guys, we're going to go back a few years. Now, this is August 1st, 1987. going back a ways, but against Tony Tucker, the rep on Tyson, I bring this up, guys, because the rep on Tyson is he has trouble with taller fighters. Is that still the case?
Now, here's Lennox Lewis tying up, or Tony Tucker, who most approximates Lennox Lewis, tying up Mike Tyson on the inside, and here he is using the jab and boom, the straight right hand. That's what Lennox Lewis would like to do in this fight, Max.
And you heard him say if he gets past the jab and past the right hand, he's got the uppercut. Well, it's a right uppercut, but here Tucker lands the left uppercut. That was early in the fight with Tyson, rocks him back on his heels. Tucker was 220 pounds, 221 pounds. Lewis is very close to 250. You know, if that's a guy 30 pounds heavier-handed with better power, what happens to Tyson, especially with the power hand, the right uppercut?
I know you bring up the point all the time, Max, that when Mike Tyson was the heavyweight champion of the world in the late 80s, when he was 35-0, an electrifying heavyweight champion, it was a different era of heavyweights. That was much smaller heavyweights back in those days. Right now, let's go back to Jeremy Schaap. He's with the trainer of the heavyweight champion, Manny Stewart. Jeremy?
Brian, Manny Stewart, one of the great trainers in the history of the fight game. Manny, your fighter weighs in at 249 1/4. How would you assess his fitness?
I think he's in excellent shape. For his age now and the size that he is, he's in great shape.
How would you describe what this training process has been like for you guys?
Well, training for Mike Tyson is a little different than anybody else because Mike Tyson attacks you with a lot more speed and intensity, and he's a better puncher than most of the guys that Lennox has fought. So it's a little different. And by the same token, I'm quite sure Mike Tyson is having the same problem. You can get guys who are tall and big like Lennox Lewis, but they're not that talented. So it's been very unusual training for this fight.
Lennox is obviously a much bigger man than Mike. How do you use that to your advantage?
Well, I think Lennox he's not only bigger, Lennox is a very physical man himself. And a lot of guys are big, but they don't have the strength or the punching power that Lennox has. He's got to be dominant. He's got to actually force the fight. He's got to pressure Mike Tyson.
In the 48 hours you have remaining before this fight, what do you do to motivate your fighter at this point?
In Lennox Lewis's case, you don't have to really motivate him. We sit down and just assess everything that's on the line, the hard work that has been put forward in his 25 years of boxing to get to this point. And this is the apex of his career, and realize that he has to let it all hang out this night. He's got to let, for those 36 minutes or less, his whole career and legacy is all wrapped up.
You have suggested over the course of the last few weeks that Lennox Lewis is prepared to come out and simply fight Mike Tyson if Mike Tyson challenges him, which is what everyone expects Mike Tyson to do. Are you sticking to that strategy, or might Lennox be the more cautious fighter we're used to seeing?
Lennox is not cautious all the time now. When he has thought he was threatened, such as in the Galata fight and the last fight with Rockman and the fight with Michael Grant and Razor Ruddock, Lennox can be very aggressive, dangerous early in the fight. And I think in this case, you're going to see Lennox forcing the issue, but it's going to be in a technical manner that we've set up, which means he will eventually catch Mike Tyson running in and make a mistake and will knock Mike out.
Manny, thanks very much. Manuel Stewart predicting a knockout, Brian.
Jeremy, thank you. Let's point something out right now. Lennox, the cautious warrior. However, he pointed out against Evander Holyfield in the second fight, he was cautious because of headbutting. Did we learn anything from the last Hasim Rahman fight with Evander Holyfield? Yeah, Evander uses his head. Will we see a cautious Lennox Lewis in this fight?
It's difficult to tell because he really can fight both ways. He is aggressive when he feels threatened. On the other hand, it would be foolhardy to leave himself open to a Tyson counter. But I want to touch a second on the super heavyweight versus heavyweight thing. Tyson really was fighting in an era of heavyweights. I remember when I was a kid, people telling me about the Ali era, how when Ali was in his prime in the 60s, people were saying, well, he's too big for Marciano in the old times. No, Marciano. Well, this is kind of like the same thing. Lennox Lewis is too big. When you look at him, he's 250 pounds. He is not the same. He's 30 pounds heavier than a decent-sized heavyweight was in Mike Tyson's era. That is a tremendous weight differential. That's the reason there are weight divisions in boxing. It really is a super heavyweight against a heavyweight.
I know now, we were watching tape, and we're looking back at the tape with Tucker and Tyson, and we're learning things just as revisiting the tape.
You know, that's a very interesting and revealing tape. That was a 21-year-old Mike Tyson against, as Max pointed out earlier, maybe a 220-some pound Tony Tucker. The blueprint Tucker fought is almost the blueprint that Lewis will fight. The holding on the inside, the jab and the straight right hand, except less movement from Lewis and a lot more power on his punches. So when you look at that tape, Lennox Lewis has to look at that, and I think gain confidence from looking at that kind of fighter fighting against Mike Tyson when he was 21.
Lennox Lewis, the heavyweight champion of the world, weighing in at 249 and a quarter. 249 and a quarter. That is less than his heaviest weight of all time. We'll be back here at 3 Central, 4 Eastern for the weigh-in of Mike Tyson. Let's go back to Michael Kim in the studio. Mike?
All right, thank you, guys, and we will see you then. In the meantime, let's get you updated on some baseball games this afternoon in Major League.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you, and we do welcome you here to the second half of our official weigh-in for the heavyweight historic showdown coming your way on Saturday at the Pyramid. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, at this time, my pleasure to introduce to you the former heavyweight champion of the world, the youngest man ever to win the title. He's ranked the WBC #1 contender. Please welcome the one and only Iron Mike Tyson.
Is that about right, Mike? 134. I mean, 234. 234 and a half.
234 and a half pounds, 234 and a half for Iron Mike Tyson.
All right, guys, I'm here with Al Bernstein and Max Kellerman. Brian Kenny here across the street at the Pyramid. From there, the Cook Convention Center, 234 and a half. Mike Tyson has been between 212 and 223 in every bout, except for the last one against Brian Nielsen. So this, Al, is a little heavy.
Yeah, I personally thought that Mike Tyson didn't look like he was as cut and as ripped when we saw him at the workout as we might have expected. In my opinion, this weight is not a good weight for Mike Tyson. It's way too heavy, and in my opinion, it indicates that all that people have talked about him being in tremendous shape may not be the case.
Well, there we see Jeremy Schaap standing by with Mike Tyson. Jeremy, take it away.
Brian, Mike Tyson weighing in at 234. Mike, is that a little bit heavy for you, or you think you're in good shape?
I'm in perfect shape. I'm just looking forward to the fight.
Your trainers say you're in the best shape of your life. Do you agree?
Well, I trained hard. We boxed number of rounds. We probably have 160 rounds in for this particular fight, and I'm just looking forward for it to happen. You know, I was listening to Lennox Lewis' manager, being his cheerleader. What's his name? Emmanuel Lewis Stewart.
Stewart, not Lewis.
Well, I used to want to let him know I'm from Brownsville, Brooklyn. I'm not afraid of nobody. In the ring or out of the ring, they got a gun or a knife, and I'll show him that too.
Mike, you're jumping around. You seem to be a little anxious.
I'm just ready to get it on and crush this guy's skull. Show who the real world champion is, the best fighter in the era.
The last few years, Mike, you fought only 19 rounds in your last 6 fights. Does that relative lack of activity in any way hamper you?
Well, this might be 20 rounds this year then.
Mike, how do you counter Lennox's height and reach advantage, which are significant?
Listen, that's no significance in a man's character and his heart. That means nothing to me.
Do you have to knock him out in 3 rounds to win this fight?
I don't have to do anything. I'm gonna knock him out probably before 3 rounds, but that's not necessarily what I have to do to win the fight. But once I can go, I've been boxing 12 rounds in general, I'm able to go that, but he's got to go down.
Mike, how do you compare the Mike Tyson who was fighting Saturday night to the Mike Tyson who 14 years ago this month knocked out Michael Spinks? Are you a better fighter now?
Well, listen, you don't compare because, listen, maybe I'm not as good a fighter as I was 14 years ago, but I'm sure he's not as good a fighter as he was 14 years ago.
What does this fight mean for your legacy? If you regain the heavyweight championship again, what does it mean in terms of history?
Listen, I already stamped my legacy in the immortal history of boxing. This is just another variety to it.
Just another. This doesn't mean anything more than any of those other big fights you fought.
It can't mean anything other than a fight, because then it's something abnormal. Every fight is normal to me. Nothing's abnormal. It's just a fight. It's a party, so to speak.
What do you do, Mike, over the next 2 days? You've got 48 hours before this fight.
Just pray he doesn't die of a heart attack.
You're that anxious to get in the ring?
Yes.
Mike, thanks very much.
He doesn't die of a heart attack.
I understand. Thank you, Mike. Brian, back to you. That's Mike Tyson. He still seems pretty angry.
Hey, Jeremy, I have to say this, fellas. That sounds like a guy ready to fight. He looks, if he's antsy, I don't think it's antsy. It's a man that does want to fight. Now, let's take a look back to the weight first here. 222 against Andrew Galata, where he looked relatively good and sharp and made Galata quit in that fight. Of course, Galata's quit before. Brian Nielsen at 239, the heaviest ever for this fight. hey, a very short training camp. You have to wonder, is he mentally? He sounds very good. Physically, he's a little heavy. Take a look at the tail of the tape now. Lennox Lewis earlier in the day weighing in at 249 1/4. Mike Tyson at 234 1/2. A bit heavy, but he sounded ready to go, Al.
Yeah, you know, as you take a look at that tail of the tape and you look at the differences there, lots of significant differences between these two men, and it makes it look like there's almost 2 weight divisions going on there.
And there are 2 weight divisions in boxing now. They just haven't named them. There's a super heavyweight division, guys, you know, 6'5" and 240 pounds. And there's a heavyweight division, guys 220. Well, apparently Mike thought he had to be a super heavyweight for this fight because at 234 pounds, it's the second heaviest of his career. I spoke to his trainers, Stacy McKinley, Ronnie Shields, and Mike McCallum. They said, yeah, we want Tyson in around 226, 227 for this fight because, you know, Lennox is a big guy and Tyson's older than he used to be and he should count. But you know what? Even that goal was not reached. It was exceeded. They're coming in almost 10 pounds heavier than what they said they wanted him to come in at, and they wanted him to come in heavy.
Right now, let's go back to the head trainer now for Mike Tyson, former heavyweight champion of the world. Jeremy Schaff is with Ronnie Shields. Jeremy?
Brian, thanks very much. Ronnie, you want him this heavy, 234 pounds.
Well, actually, I think the scale is wrong.
Really?
Yeah, because he weighed out just a little while ago at 229.
229, that's a big difference. It's 5 pounds off.
I think the scale is off.
So if he is 234, are you disappointed?
Oh, no, not at all. Mike is in great shape. I mean, look at him. Did he look fat to you?
No, not at all.
He looked ripped, right? So, I mean, Mike is in great shape.
He also seems very eager to get in the ring. Have you been psyching him up for this?
I don't have to do that. You know, Mike, you know, he wants this fight for himself. You know, he wants to win this fight. And, hey, you know, he trains so hard.
In the next 48 hours, however, Ronnie, do you want him this pumped up, or do you have to get him settled down a little bit? What kind of Mike Tyson do you want walking into the ring Saturday night?
Well, I say he won't be around a whole lot of people. He's going to be nice and calm and relaxed. And Saturday night, then he's going to be, like you've seen him today, that's the way you go see him Saturday night.
Obviously, he has a history of erratic behavior, especially in days leading up to fights. How do you make sure he doesn't get into trouble between now and fight night?
In trouble? Where he's going? He's not going. He's not going anywhere.
You got him locked up?
You know, no, he's got himself locked up. You know, I mean, he's not locked up. He got his family, his friends, everybody around him, and you know, he's happy, and that's the thing he wants, and you know, that's the way it's going to be.
Is there anything left to work on?
Nothing. Everything has been set, you know, it's been set. Mike has been ready to fight 2 weeks ago.
All right, so tell me, the first round, the bell rings, what happens?
It's coming out and get close and throwing punches.
You know, everybody says that Lennox Lewis has to be wary of Mike Tyson's power. What do you have to be wary of?
Well, you know, Lennox is a good fighter. You can't take that away from him. Lennox can punch with either hand also. So, you know, we have to slip punches and throw punches back.
You were telling me the other day you think Lennox is going to try to avoid Mike, that he is not actually going to engage him in a brawl. Do you still feel that way?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm going to tell you like this. I'm going to put it real simple for you so you can understand.
Oh, thank you, Ronnie.
Lennox in this corner, Mike in this corner. They coming out this way. Lennox come out straight. It should be early night. He go left or right, he got a chance to go a little bit longer.
Simple geometry. How long do you think the fight lasts?
Well, you know, I can't predict that because I don't know. I just know that Mike trained for 12 rounds. You know, he got over 160 rounds of boxing in. That's a lot of rounds for any fight. You know, and I did that because, you know, he hadn't been fighting a whole lot. So had to get a lot of boxing in, and the man is in great shape right now.
It is a lot of training rounds, but he has fought only 19 total rounds in his last 6 fights. How do you really compensate for that? Can you do it in training?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, without your training, you have nothing. You don't even have a fight if you don't train. So, you know, Mike is in great shape right now, and, you know, and he did everything in that gym that he was supposed to do to win this fight.
You were there when Lennox Lewis destroyed Andrew Galata. You were in Galata's corner.
Right.
You know just how powerful and dangerous he can be.
Right. I know that, but I also know that how powerful and dangerous Mike is with both hands. You know, and Mike is perhaps the strongest heavyweight in the last, 50, 60 years.
This fight's going to happen Saturday night?
We're here, they're here. Hey, we're going to be there.
Ronnie, thanks very much. Brian, back up to you.
Jeremy, thank you. Guys, it's almost as if people are expecting something to happen or some incident. There's no incident. He weighs in. He's a bit heavy. All right, now Ronnie Shields says he believes Mike Tyson weighed in at their camp at 229 pounds instead of 234.5. When he weighed in October against Brian Nielsen, he was 239. And Max, at that time, the Tyson camp said, no, that scale is not right. So now that's twice in a row they say the scale is not right. You know, what do you make of all this?
I don't think, I don't have a hard time believing the scale isn't exactly right, because he didn't look to my eye to be grossly overweight. He looked in the relative shape. He looked for a Galata, maybe a little looser than he looked for the Galata fight, but he looked about right. Also, again, he's heavyweight. He doesn't have to make weight. He may have had a liter of water in the, in his dressing room or wherever he was warming up. Maybe he comes in dry, not sweating, and there's an extra 2 or 3 pounds. It really doesn't matter. The question is, has he put in the work? The weight is just an indicator to us, and it's possible that the scale is wrong.
Now, again, this was a short training camp, less than 3 months with Ronnie Shields. Mike Tyson of old in the 80s used to be in the gym all the time. Now it's a matter of, all right, I'm going to go to camp and get into shape, like an old-time ball player. I'm going to arrive in spring training, and then I'm going to get into shape. It appears to me that he didn't quite have all that time to get down to where he would really want to be for a legacy fight.
Absolutely. They can say whatever they want. They can say the scale's wrong. They can say 234 is just fine. It's not just fine. 234 is too heavy. And even if it's 232, it's too heavy. And my feeling is he doesn't look as ripped as he was at other times. I'm not suggesting it's a reason for him to lose the fight, but it could be. I don't think Mike Tyson, who doesn't stay in shape, as you pointed out, and who we saw, you know, on Maui when he started with a gut, we know that he didn't have as much time as he wanted to, and 234 is a bad sign.
You have to wonder what he did in camp. Max, you were there in Hawaii at his camp. What did you get to see when you were there? I know they don't spar out and open anymore, even for the media. What did you see, and do you think he had a good camp?
It's hard to tell. The sparring partner says the sparring partners were saying he was hitting hard, not always slipping punches so well, but I love what Ronnie Shields just said. Mike Tyson's going to slip and throw back. I mean, boxing, when you boil it down, is a simple game. So is chess. You know, you control the center of the board. Baseball, pitching, throw strike one, hitting, keep your eye on the ball. Basketball, control the boards. You know, boxing, hit and don't get hit. So essentially, it boils down to a simple game. If Tyson's prepared by slipping and countering, if he's in shape to go 12 rounds, he'll do okay, and the weight maybe as an indicator will be a little misleading. If he's not, we're all going to find out.
I think mentally, Al, one last time, I think mentally, from the way he sounded to Jeremy Schaap, if you had a fighter, that's the way I think you want a fighter to sound.
Absolutely. Mike Tyson, there's no question Mike Tyson seems ready to go, and that's good for all of us because means we think there's going to be a fight here on Saturday night. Now, one of the fighters who maybe most closely approximates Mike Tyson, who Lewis has recently fought, would have been David Tua, who, by the way, Ronnie Shields was also in his corner, David Tua, when he lost to Lennox Lewis. Here is Lewis with Tua coming out very quickly in the first round. This is what Mike Tyson will want to do, Max, early in this fight. Come after Lewis, crank up the left hooks, and try and pressure him like that.
And Tyson comes even with more velocity, as Brian likes to say, and intensity than Tua, and he's a two-fisted puncher, but really, it's slip and counter. You know, make the guy miss and hit and don't be hit. And here you see Tua moving his head a little bit and leaping in behind the left hook. Now with Tyson, again, you not only have to worry about the left hand, but the right hand as well, and it makes a big difference. Against Tua, you're just preparing, you keep that right hand tight, and you're going to be okay. It's not that easy against Mike Tyson, although this is not, you know, no matter what Tyson does, this is not the 21-year-old Tyson. You heard Mike himself say he's not the same as he was 14 years ago, but Lewis isn't either. Lewis perhaps is as good or better than he was a dozen years ago. He developed slower than Mike did.
As we wrap this up now, people are kind of transfixed with the freak show aspect. I think there's a good chance we might just have a historically significant fight. Your thoughts?
Well, the one thing that was very good about all this, in my opinion, was what you commented on. Mike Tyson looks like a guy who really wants to fight. This may sound facetious. He managed to get through an entire interview without one expletive, and I don't mean that facetiously. I mean he's thinking about how things are supposed to work going into this fight, and I think Mike Tyson is as ready mentally as we would want him to be so that we could have, in fact, a good fight.
Max, what do you get from this
Well,
fight?
yeah, usually in boxing, you're always just hoping that something that's supposed to be great turns out okay. In this case, we're all expecting many different things. I think no one's really expecting a great, competitive, even kind of great super fight, you know, to go down in history. If we get that, it exceeds all our expectations, and I think that's possible.
Well, that'll do it from here in Memphis. Once again, Lennox Lewis weighing in at 249.25 pounds. Mike Tyson at 234.5. Ronnie Shields takes exception to that, but that's official, 234.5. For Max Kellerman and Al Bernstein, I'm Brian Kenny. If you're watching on ESPN2, we're going to send you back to Tuesday Night Fights. When you return on ESPN News, we'll send you back to Scott Reese. Scott?
Brian, thank you very much. Great job out there in Memphis, Tennessee. Hello.